Hello friends, so we'll continue with our poem Elegy written in a country churchyard. As we had gone through the 8th stanza of the poem, that is up to 32nd line of the poem. Now we'll continue with our poem further. The boast of heraldry, the pomp of power, and all that beauty, all that wealth ever gave, awaits alike the inevitable hour. The paths of glory lead but to the grave. So, here in these lines, we can see how the poet has given us the bare truth of this life. That how, whatever we become in this life, we feel proud of our achievements, we feel proud of our beauty, wealth, or whatever the reason of pride, everything turns into dust at the time of death. Means inevitable hour means which cannot be changed. It cannot be changed. It will happen. Boast of heraldry here means that when you feel proud of your family lineage, if whether you are aristocrat, you are rich, pomp of power, and if you have that power which gives you that pride and all that beauty, all that wealth ever gave. So the poet here says, whatever be the reason of being proud, whether it's your lineage, your power, beauty, or wealth, whatever is the reason, all these things are meaningless and baseless, because basically the ultimate end is grave, that all we have to pass through this unavoidable fact of life, that is death, and all this leads to our graves. So the speaker here starts with a sort of list, which means that whatever we are feeling proud of, all these things are just useless, and all of us are just waiting for the unavoidable or inevitable time of our death, and all these paths, all these things are leading us to that ultimate end, that is the grave. Nor you, ye proud, impute to these the fault, if memory over the tomb no trophies raise, where through the long drawn aisle and fretted vault the pealing anthem swells the note of praise. Now the speaker has some more advice for the proud, rich, and people who are feeling pompous or feeling elated about their success in life. He addresses them as ye proud, means they are feeling proud, means you proud people who are feeling so proud about yourself. And he tells them that you should not blame these old, dead, poor people if they don't have any fancy monuments on their graves. Trophies here means the monuments, means if their tombs don't have any fancy engraving, or if they are not beautified, so you should not, he says, that you don't be so proud of yourself, and don't blame these dead poor people if they don't have any fancy monuments on their graves. So here he is again personifying, as if the speaker is shifting the blame. He says that memory failed to put up fancy monuments or trophies, but really wouldn't that be the responsibility of the families of the dead people? So he says that memory is not a person. But of course, the dead people in the churchyard are mostly poor farmers, so obviously their families were not able to afford a fancy or beautiful engraved marble monument in the church on their graves. So the speaker shifts the blame onto the memory that is personified as a person. The last two lines of the stanza describe the church itself, the place where the monuments might be displaced. The bell that marks the passing of the member of the church peals in praise of his or her life. Pealing anthem means swells the note of praise. Says that the bell that marks or rings when a person passes, it is a symbol of praise of his or her life all through the aisles of the church and up to its high arched vaults and ornamental carved ceilings. Fretted is ceiling, arched means vaults. So he says that maybe some other people are not praising these old men, but the bell which marks their passing away from this world is praising their life, and its sound is echoing in the arched and ornamentally carved ceiling of the church. Can storied urn or animated bust back to its mention call the fleeting breath? Can honor's voice provoke the silent dust, or flattery soothe the dull cold ear of death? So this whole stanza is in a form of question, as if the speaker is questioning someone. Here again the speaker is addressing the proud people. He imagines that who might have mocked these poor and lowly farmers who have been buried in the churchyard. Can storied urn or animated bust? He asks them whether a fancy urn is a small pot in which the remains of a dead person are kept, and bust is a sort of statue which is made to commemorate a dead person. So he asked them whether a beautiful or fancy urn or a lifelike bust could call the breath back to a dead person and make him breathe again. He says all these things are useless. If you store the remains of a person in a beautiful pot or a clay pot, nothing matters, because they are not able to bring that person back into life. Except, he says, he doesn't say so quite that directly. He uses a metaphor to explain what he wants to say. The dead person's body is like a mansion, a house, and the speaker personifies the urn and the bust, asking these proud people if they can call the dead person's breath back to the mansion of their body. Is it possible for them? And the second question he puts forward is the voice of honor. Honor is again personified. Can provoke the silent, dusty remains of a dead person to speak again, or whether flattery is also personified, can make the cold ear of death. Death is personified as a person whose ears are death, because coldness is related to death. So he says that he again questions that can honor's voice can provoke the silent and dusty remains of a dead person to speak again, or whether flattery can make the cold ear of death feel better about being dead. So the answer, of course, we all know is no. So what is the point of being proud of your belongings, your wealth, your beauty? Because everything has to be ultimately go to the grave. Perhaps in this neglected spot is laid some heart once pregnant with celestial fire, hands that the rod of empire might have swayed, or wake to ecstasy the living lyre. So now the speaker or the poet is trying to portray or give a picturesque image of the people who might have been buried in this churchyard. He is reflecting on what type of person might be lying in these unmarked graves in the churchyard, because there are no markings, there are no beautiful embellishments on the grave. Maybe he says in the churchyard there is someone lying in these graves whose heart was full of celestial fire. Means celestial fire is a sort of metaphor. It is of meaning passion for anything, for writing, for some adventures, anything. Maybe in the churchyard there lies a person whose hands could have ruled an empire, means he could have been a king, or someone whose hands could have played a lyre. But someone who was so good in playing a lyre, he must have been a good musician, so well that the lyre would have become conscious. That means that lyre, that instrument would have come to life. So he just wants to say, because we don't know who are the person who are buried in these graves, because there is no marking on these graves, who can say that there may be someone whose heart was filled with passion, whose hands were such that he could have ruled a big empire, or who could have bring the lyre to life with his music, with his instrument. Thank you.